onboarding more
Everyone's
people
growing
into
their
the space.
community. Like, there's no community that needs to be grown, really. It's really, nobody wants to be a part of even your freaking useless community.
There. And now we're just looking at building our co-creation platform in line with all of our feedback, and then taking it a step from there, doing brand partnerships and trying to onboard more people into the space.
Really,
right.
We don't need it.
So let's get down to it then. So as I said before, like, we are talking today about digital fashion, how it's a key component to the mainstream adoption of Web3. So I've got a few questions. I'm going to kickstart the conversation. So the first one is, how do you think digital fashion is helping or will help Web3 technology to become more mainstream and accepted? So feel free to just jump in to answer that.
Lauren, would you like to go first?
Sure. I mean, I think maybe we can compare it to like the rise of smartphones and like social media. So, right, people are quite already familiar with filters, but I think like there is definitely like a big link between the hardware and the software.
Who would enroll in this
That's
BS?
what I'm curious about, like where we'll keep going in the digital fashion space, because it's really highly dependent on how do people actually see it. If it's virtual, right? So is it going to be more that we are entering like different metaverses? But I think it's important that we do build those experiences to be as attractive as like something that is physical or video, because I think we're still waiting to see a big like movement and like attraction to being in metaverse spaces like full time. Like I still do all my meetings pretty much just like on Zoom or G Meets, and I use filters because that's already, I think, quite
You don't need
accepted
that,
in the
Mellow.
culture after right, using Instagram and Snapchat. So I think that is a big factor about like how do you actually see it, and the technology will really depend on that. So the other right big question is like with AR glasses, like is this now the right time? Because right, I don't know what year it was, like when the first right kind of tech emerged for that. Maybe Hafid here knows, but it was like totally rejected. Like it wasn't the right time at all, and people weren't ready. And so it feels like this year there's a lot more momentum around being open to the idea of like wearing something digital, and also a big interest in like creating your virtual identity. Like so there's several like AI kind of like engines that are emerging that are like take your photo and make variations of it. So people are already experimenting with digital identity in that way. So then it's just kind of like, how do we make it easier, like to make an avatar for yourself, and then where do you use that, and then how do you customize the look? So right now I'd say what like Ready Player Me is maybe like the most accepted avatar in the most spaces, but we can't really dress it yet. So there's still like right limitations on that, but it will definitely emerge. And like you were saying, Lana, about like the hybrid style of digital, physical, digital, whatever you want to call it. I kind of gave up on the word digital, but yeah, and I think that is a lot more maybe the next phase, as like we're still waiting for the digital to grow, and that's something I'm always been like most interested in, is like how do you use digital to improve like sustainability and experience of
Sustainability doesn't need to be improved.
So, sorry, I'm speaking a lot.
You need to be improved.
The point I had was,
go for it.
Yeah. And the last point is like right now we're in our space, we're very like digitally connected, so it's more natural that we only stay in that space. And so we have these rare moments where we go to conferences and meet, and so I think like kind of this hybrid format that tailors to both of that, those experiences, is probably what will be successful. I think you need physical things to continue like movement and growth of digital. So yeah.
I completely agree, and I think you spoke about utility there, and I believe that digital fashion is like a real great entry point for anyone interested in Web3, because it's obviously a fun way to experience like Web3 technology, and you might be using digital fashion and actually unaware that you're using Web3 technology, which is going to be really good in the future. I feel like at the moment, though, we're still not quite there yet with the utility. We still have a lot of images of digital fashion, and I can't wait for it to be like accessible digital fashion that I can actually wear on my avatar. I think when we get to that point,
We don't need that.
when it's gone beyond just filters and actually avatar wearables, I think it will be a really exciting space, and I think we're so close to it now. So Lana, I'm interested to know your thoughts on this topic.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, Lauren touched so many points, and I think we like there's so many things to discuss, and I have so much to add into that. But I completely agree with what she's saying. And generally, I think the concept of Web3 native fashion brands started a long time ago with the Artifact, and when they used their community to facilitate all the processes in their brand creation. As soon as Nike understood the potential of that, they jumped on board and now full exploring the concept of co-creation with the swoosh, right? I think it's a brilliant idea launching this kind of brand where other artists with completely different backgrounds, different ideas, different way of imagining things could co-create items together. And I see how this concept actually grew into something bigger where more and more brands understand its importance. As you can see with the Fabricant, for example, one of the main players on the market right now. And what they are creating with Wallland collection, where in the future, you as a digital fashion artist, you will be able to create items together, just as they did previously with several other collections, working with World of Women for like International Women Day and things like that. And I do agree with Lauren, where digital fashion, where she says that digital fashion is a new technology, which at first place was actually rejected several years ago. People could not understand its importance, and now it moved into something very interesting. I hear more and more people are somehow interacting with digital assets. And of course, AR generally made it more accessible for everyone with the filters of Snapchat and TikTok. Like literally, TikTok is used by so many people here in Europe. Maybe not Snapchat, but TikTok for sure. Making it much more easier to interact with the garment and try it on. You can see we actually collaborated with one of the TikTok influencers for Berlin Fashion Week, and she wore the T-shirt, and it was very simple, you know. And she went for Fashion Week, where people could just scan the QR code on her T-shirt and try on the garment, because everyone who comes to the Fashion Week literally has a TikTok account. So it's
that would
very
not be the
simple, and I
real
think
Fashion Week, I think.
how digital fashion actually push brands, push other people to interact somehow with the new technology and understand that it's not so scary. It's something very easy to do, and it's something very easy to try it on yourself and play around and create other experiences. So this what I actually think, and I'm very excited to see what's gonna happen in 2023 for especially for AR in digital fashion.
It's really interesting that our conversation has gone down that avenue, because my next question is about how digital fashion.
I can't believe we're still talking about digital fashion, my loves. We're stuck. Pretty obvious.
You both had an example of a project or a company that you find particularly innovative. And I'm actually going to go first this time because I really love like augmented reality and the AR filters. I think they're sort of like next level creativity, and they're once again so much fun. And I feel like fun and like that accessible level of things that people can use their phone to access digital fashion is so important. For me, when 010 came out, I was just amazed at how the quality of the body tracking, and just obviously now they've grown and they've got way more like items of clothing you can try out on them. But I feel like that was a massive step in enabling more people to sort of participate in digital fashion in a way that was free, in a space that was purely about digital fashion, rather than obviously on TikTok and Snapchat and things. They're more like social media. So I just feel like they've done a really good job of like pushing digital fashion in front of the mainstream. So I think that's a really good example of how it's used in the real world. Kalu, or Lauren, whichever you prefer. I'd love to know your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I definitely have to play
What a
around
deep
more
article.
with 010 up. I know Hafid here will have to tell us more about it also. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of use cases that are emerging and that are really interesting. I think I'm a bit biased, so two of like our partners and like who we've worked with and just have proven to be so reliable and like great to work with would be first the girls from Jevels. And so they're focused on jewelry and mostly with AR. And I think in the beginning, everyone was like, oh, this is like so specific, or maybe that was just my thought, but then it just works so well. And this is actually, for me, like the most, like has the highest utility because I actually wear this daily within video calls. Like, so you can integrate filters into Zoom, G Meets. And so that's probably like the example I consistently talk the most about. So definitely would recommend, like, if anyone wants to get in touch with Jevels, they're really great to work with. And another really good friend and also future partner.
But you
is,
would wear a
Cloud
mask on your avatar
so
picture.
they're a hybrid, like more focused on kind of like the supply chain of how do you use Web3 technology to clearly show who has all contributed to making a garment that's like a bit hybrid, like a digital to physical. How do you connect with the manufacturers? And
Also, why do you have so many different like places online? Does that feel good for you to have so many places to showcase whatever you're doing?
Designer and you want to start a label, and so like basically with their framework they have a marketplace where you can purchase, and like using smart contracts that like breakdown is like equally distributed to all
We have questions
so
for
I'm super excited about that also, and I know they have a couple launches coming up as well.
Yeah, I've actually have met a couple of the people who on
Donald
the
Trump
team
was
for
probably
Crowd
the
News,
biggest
and
person.
they're great. And I met them a few months ago now. And I've been
So you're
following
kind of
their progress,
describing
but I
this
think what they're doing
collision.
is
I don't
really
know the
good in the
biology. I don't know the
space.
biology of my ceiling, but
So,
tell me more.
Lana,
Well, they
what are
just
your thoughts on how Web3 technology can be used in the real world using digital fashion?
Yeah, actually, you spoke about 010, and I think I'm becoming a 010 ambassador because I really admire them. I love the technology itself. I love the body tracking as well, and I tend to stalk them for about a year already because I remember the first time I saw them was like last April or something like that. And can I actually pin some tweets while I'm speaking so maybe people could understand better what we're speaking about?
Yes, sure,
Right
go
now?
for it.
Oh, perfect. Because here, okay, I pin. So here is how actually AR looks on TikTok. Not the best for now, but I see actually how technology is improving step by step. So it's not it's not the worst experience. And here I'm.
What do you think about this? I don't believe in this at all. I don't believe we need to track physical objects. Honestly, like, just take care of your physical objects, but don't have to track them. You've already been tracked generally. Why do you need to track your physical objects? Authentication is actually storytelling. If you can share a good story about where you got this product from, and which store, what's the experience, how did you make all this money,
Yeah, and
then we'll know that you're not lying.
From the phone,
you literally can't make up that story.
It's hard for the model because phones have different angle, different camera, completely different camera, and it's hard, but it's very funny in any way. It's very funny because we tried many different filters, also not related to fashion and like fancy ones, but something like from gaming, some particular filters, and it was generally cool. So I encourage everybody to download 010 and just play around as much as you can because it's fun. And I think that's why digital fashion is improving and scaling dramatically because people find it at first place fun. It's a fun activity to do. It's a fun activity to try it on your.
You know what's fun? What's fun is to create a garment out of two garments and combine them and see what happens. What's fun is to recreate your garment in a way that looks new and more interesting. What's fun is to touch somebody else's body in a way that is fun and exciting and dancey and healing for both of you. That's what's fun. Not trying on digital items. That's so 2018, 19. we're past that, and we're still talking about this as if it's like part of the hype while we're in 2023.
The experience with your friends and have some fun at least.
No, it's not fun.
I totally
Like, don't tell us that something that is boring as fuck is fun. It's not fun. And don't tell me that for some people it's fun. It's not fun.
work. So I think it's a fascinating piece of technology that is just so good for the digital fashion industry.
Yeah,
and
I
I think
completely agree. Sorry for
no,
interrupting.
please do.
Yeah, because I guess you wanted to move to the next question. Actually, what Zero Ten and all these filters are actually helping us so much to introduce this technology to other people, so they
yeah.
can understand the concept of digital fashion. Why? Because I know many of my friends, they come from gaming industry. My brothers as well, they're younger than me. Of course, they know what is digital fashion, what are skins. Of course, they do it like they play with it on daily basis. But traditional fashion brands, traditional fashion consumer, of course, they don't know what's that. And with AR technology, we help them to understand how it can be actually used on a daily basis, how it can help to solve many problems. For example, for the sizing, for like in store purchases, the stores can avoid purchasing the inventory and just having AR filters, for example, when the customer can come and try it on. So it can solve many of the issues and help sustainability as
I can't believe that this still narrative is happening. I really can't believe it.
I think you're totally right. I think obviously there's the fun aspect of it, but also there's so many elements that augmented reality and looking at digital fashion through those lenses is going to help with production as well and all sorts of things. So I actually have a question about that a little bit further down the line. So I'll hold any more thoughts on that for now. And actually, Lauren did touch on some aspects already, again, through about our next question. And this is, how does digital fashion help to enable new forms of ownership and transparency in the fashion industry? And again, Lauren, do you want to give us your thoughts on this?
You know, this is making up stories that are not existent. Like, you're making up a story just to make up a story, just to fit in a story to your product, Ariane. Do you get it?
Like with product development. And there's kind of like, right, two big things. The first is, how do you create products to be more sustainable, to have lesser impact in the development and even consumption process. And then
Ew, traceable fibers. Ew. NFCs, just generally, like, we don't need to be tracked more than we're already being tracked. Do you understand?
it was very hard to kind of get there. And so I think, right, that's the beauty of digital. There is still a cost to like learning 3D, to having access maybe to different like communities if you have to buy their NFT. But I think it's a lot more accessible than like the current fashion industry is at the moment. And also just the business model itself, it just doesn't work very well. Like, we just make a bunch of product that is like not sold, and it leads to waste. And so I've been like pre Web3, like figuring out how do you include circular design into like the creation of products. Like when I was working at Loewe and Saint Laurent, I just basically went to their waste and I upcycled their leather remnants into kind of new styles that then could be like this zero waste design upcycled option. And so I'm really excited about like, how do you combine that with digital? Because then it's like,
you don't need to
super fuse, like ideally, like let's not forget about like impact, like while we're building digital, and have those two work together. So yeah, I guess like maybe combining those would be, first, right, you have an NFT that is like a digital product, and then only when someone is ready to like burn it or actually purchase it is when like the actual production starts. So there's just, yeah, I think such a great possibility of like combining those
These
two.
are pulled out of the finger. This is really pulled out of the finger. Nobody needs this, trust me.
For crowd news about like how that's actually going to work with made to order production. But that's right more on the physical side. So, and also Boson Protocol works with kind of the payment process of how do you go from digital to physical. So yeah, a lot of, I don't know if that was your question, but
yeah. No, that was a brilliant answer. And I think as well, like, this whole idea of NFTs and the value that they give as well to ownership and transparency, like within the industry. So, for example, I love what you're talking about there with how we can like merge this whole zero waste and digital and
there's no value in downloading an extra app, buying a new item, having being tracked by this item. No more apps generally. Why would we need more apps? Product transparency is a fake news. We don't need that actually. Like, it's fine. Just, tell good stories, really. Real stories are fine enough. If you're telling a good story, that probably you're not really able to greenwash us. Nobody cares about exclusive experiences and AR because nobody is going to give a shit about AR in very close future. I don't know about your anonymity.
Transparency around Web3 as well. And it feels like within the fashion industry, there's a lot of problem with like fakes and things like that. And obviously NFTs solve that problem. But then you also have the element of like suppliers and retailers and the fact that they can then provide like the necessary information, which is related to their items. So production sourcing and like production composition and like delivery processes. And I think, as you said before, like CrowdMuse are actually like really focusing on that supply chain and making it as transparent as possible. And blockchain technology allows all of this. So I think that's really fascinating. And so what are your thoughts then, Lana, about this?
It's actually I love doing spaces with Lauren because we generally see the fashion industry from two different perspectives. I come from business of fashion and she's from creative perspective, and it's always interesting to see, for me especially, to understand how she thinks. So thank you, Lauren, for sharing for sharing your thoughts. Well, I would say generally blockchain technology already helps in the tracking of the materials, and if I'm not wrong, Kering already uses it. On their website, they have a page dedicated towards sustainability in general, where you can actually check their activations and supply chain management and like general tracking. So this, I think, more related to transparency of the brand and how generally the supply chain works and how they manage supply chain actually. And if we speak about digital fashion and the whole Web3 concept, I'm generally very happy how it is moving forward and influences brands to become more transparent, because we as the consumers demand
Listen to this.
Gen Z wants transparency. They want to know where is these items sourced from and why, and if people and animal rights were respected, and many, many more things. Here, blockchain, of course, helps a lot, and we all in Web3 space try to put it forward. Then, talking about digital experiences, surely more and more luxury fashion brands use NFTs for proving the ownership, but more than that, they use NFT chips to send a customer to an NFT which proves the rights. So I think in Italy, I see more use cases of not from luxury fashion brands, but from streetwear brands, where you can get a hoodie with the NFC chip inside, and then once you scan this NFC, it proves that you are the owner, and maybe you have some additional assets for the Centraland or for Roblox and things like that. So I think digital fashion in general as a Web3 concept helps a lot in ownership and transparency, and it's moving. It's not in Italy, but it's moving worldwide. Yes, for sure.
That's great. Thanks for outlining those things. I think I love this idea of having a physical piece of fashion that has a chip in it that links to your digital piece of fashion. And it's almost like you're connected through the different worlds or realms. And I find that a really interesting concept. So now I want to talk a little bit about personalization and customization that consumers actually have a little bit of control over with digital fashion. So obviously with Effect, that's one of the key things that we're focusing on is having our community, enabling them to co-create with us, and then we're able to reward them through like royalty systems because of NFTs and smart contracts. So that's a really like beneficial thing that as a brand ourselves benefits us, because we're getting real deep insights from our community about what they actually want, and then also they're getting to participate and have that idea that, you know, they feel like we care about, you know, what they actually want, which we definitely do. And I just think that digital fashion enables this to work in such a better way. And I think another example of a brand that I know is doing customization in digital fashion is Restless. So they just launched their most recent, or their first ever drop, and it was one digital fashion piece, but you could choose which piece of artwork you wanted to put on it, and then you could mint that. So that level of customization was there as well. But I'm interested to know, like, if you guys have any more thoughts on like how personalization and customization is happening in digital fashion and how beneficial this is. And Lana, you can go first this time.
Yeah, I actually wanted to, before you started to ask this question, I wanted to continue maybe about on the transparency and like ownership concept. But since you already asked it, I wanted just to add that Lauren is actually managing a DAO, so I think she has so much information on how it can actually benefit the traditional fashion brand. So maybe she goes to reply, because for sure she has much more information than me on that. And then I have a little question for everybody.
A sure thing. Yeah, well, we can loop back to you about the transparency thing after, if you like. And yeah, Lauren, obviously, would love to know more about your DAO. I was reading about it earlier, so yeah, please let us know.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, DAO, it's like a whole nother land. It's because it incorporates like so many different things. And the reason that I decided to explore it and really like take it on kind of like firsthand and really dive into it is more around like the equality of like those who contribute, creation. How do you actually reward people in a transparent way? I even know like a couple of DAOs are starting to just have full transparency on payment. So it's like, imagine you're in a company and you know what everyone is paid. Like this, I think totally just changes the dynamic. And so, I mean, a DAO, like, it's still super early and it's quite experimental. And so, but I think there's like elements that you can tap into, such as like setting up some kind of like voting system. I mean, Rachel, it sounds right like you're doing this like by the co-creation process of like you kind of have like created a structure of where you're like, okay, these are the options. What do you guys think? I think I noticed that works better when you still have some kind of constraints between like a group of people still making like some of the biggest decisions, but then having a constant feedback between either the community or contributors. But yeah, man, it's like a really big topic, and I did have to take like some distance from it just because it is so complicated and it is quite political. So it's like kind of questioning like how do we even work together and how do we do it just in a more fair way, and like leverage tools like voting on chain, and things like that. But yeah, pretty big topic. But I mean, the goal was just how do we make things more fair, because that was a big pain point for me in fashion and design. I was like hidden in a closet. I wasn't getting credit for work. I was getting like really low pay for something that makes a company like so much money. And so it's like, what if all of that is transparent? And so there's a long way to go with that. And it's really, I mean, hard like to do this maybe into an existing company because it's fundamentally changing how people work from the start. And so it'll be interesting to see how that moves forward. I think it'll just be kind of like a different type of business, kind of like a co-op. Like when you register your business, maybe you'll be able to choose, okay, we're having a co-op, we're having this kind of DAO. I think there will be a more formal structure for it in the future once we figure out what actually works. So yeah, it's a pretty big topic.
I completely agree, and one of the reasons why we wanted to do co-creation and really have that level of transparency and everyone gets paid, like, because my sister, who's my co-founder, she's a fashion designer, that's what her background's in, and she worked for like 2 years as an intern not getting paid, and I worked in the creative industries, and we were just like, you know, if people are participating and giving us their time and their creativity, like, it makes sense that they get paid. Which is why we've kind of, you know, developed this system for giving royalties for the people who participate in the co-creation. And you're so right. like we've done one round of co-creation, and we've worked to a certain structure that we've done there, where there is a level of hierarchy, because at the end of the day, we do have the experts in our team that are able to design and develop in line with feedback and voting from polls. So it's almost like trying to get the balance right between us curating and facilitating, and then the co-creators having enough input and feeling like they're involved enough and that they're getting heard. But we're also developing, alternative co-creation models, if you like, that we're currently looking at the moment, that maybe would work for bigger brands that don't want their community to have quite so much input, but still want them to have a bit of input. But then you've got other forms of co-creation where everyone can literally do everything, but you have to control it in some way. So I think it's a really exciting space to be in, an area to be working on. And we'll have to have a call another time. I don't want to hijack this, because I'd love to hear more about your DAO and how it's all working. But yeah, Lana, please jump in and let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, I completely forgot the question, because I just found out that Nux, I don't know how to pronounce it in English, NYX, it's a cosmetic brand. They are opening their DAO. I just saw this information. It's from January 19th, so it's been already 6 days actually. So I'm impressed. I actually switched out from the question completely, and
that's
so
totally cool.
Yeah, they intend to offer at least 12 airdrops to the owners of their token, and let's see how it's gonna go. It's interesting because it's cosmetic. It's the first cosmetic brand. It's the first cosmetic brand who tries to do that, something like this. I'm gonna dig into that more, and it's pretty interesting. Let's see how they're gonna manage it exactly from the political side, from the law perspective. Because in our case, in Italy, if you want to open a DAO, it's almost impossible, kind of, because it's really hard from legal perspective. Obviously, it's very hard to manage to explain to the government what it is actually, what is DAO, how it works, how it operates, and why, and that it's not black market if it's related to blockchain. Because still, unfortunately, in Italy, we are a little bit not advanced in this technology. However, I see the movements, I see how fashion actually pushed that ideas forward, how different DeFi projects push blockchain technology forward. So I'm glad to see, but still we are moving slowly. And this was actually my question in the past, which I wanted to ask. Have you, because we come from completely different cities, different countries, and in our case, I see on daily basis how streetwear brands experiment with NFC technology, with the chips, with the digital experiences. But do you have some examples in your cities? I know Lauren is in Paris, and I heard that in Paris for the last fashion weeks, there were not many activities regarding like digital fashion or any kind of AR implementations. So maybe you could share these experiences with me as well. Actually, this year, since NFT Paris is very linked to the fashion week, I'm very excited to see how actually what actually brands are going to do, and if they're going to use this NFT Paris idea, and if they will try to provide some new crazy experiences for us. So about this, I'm very curious.
Yeah, I can just chat a bit about that. Yeah, I think Paris, like, it's a very just from, I mean, I'm an American, so I have an outsider also perspective. It's like a lot more
I want to see
traditional,
those
but that's
DAOs.
also the reason it's like still around, right? So they don't kind of like run around and chase a bunch of ideas. They're really intentional, I'd say, about maintaining always the integrity and the quality of the product and the company. I would say like rarely there's like fast, quick decisions made just for that reason, in order to preserve like the quality and the craft of things. That's just kind of my interpretation of the mentality. But yeah, there's definitely still a lot of like things popping up. I've also like organized like, so if anyone's in Paris ever, I organize meetups about kind of like NFT, Web3, fashion. I would say, yeah, it's still definitely more about using NFTs as a way to access something
Where's
versus
Matrix?
like actually using the technology, I would say. So like, for example, POAPs, like we've like make a POAP every time we have like a little meetup. And so people will get that. And so I think that is a lot more understandable, at least to this market, because
I can't, sorry, I can't hear your frequency of voice. There's no way I can continue. My head hurts. That's why I moved out of the US. I think most of them are breaking it. Yeah. Well, basically all of them, really, at some point.
And they're going to be hosted by Epic Games, and they're doing like an immersive fashion event, and then they're doing a panel talk as well over the 2 days. So I've got tickets to them. I'm not entirely sure what's happening yet. It's all very quite hush hush. So I'm really excited to see what's going to be happening with them, because I know that Mad Global have done some really good stuff in the past, and obviously they're being hosted by Epic, so that's going to be pretty epic. But yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of stuff going on in London. There seems to be quite a lot of meetups. I'm always finding it hard to find digital fashion meetups. I don't think there are quite that many of them, but there's lots of like NFT meetups and DAO meetups and things like that. So there's always things like that going on, but not so much fashion stuff. But yeah, I mean, as I said before, like we're hoping to do like a side event at London Fashion Week, and I know that like Institute of Digital Fashion have always done really cool things around sort of Fashion Week and events around those times. So yeah, there's always some stuff going on. So hopefully that helps answer your question, Lana. But I didn't know if you wanted to add anything more to that.
No, that's absolutely answered. You absolutely answered my question, especially with the London Fashion Week. Yeah, I think Mad Global is doing an incredible job, and it helps all of us a lot, because I heard from last year many people told me that, oh, I finally understand the concept of digital fashion because of they went to Mad Global and they experienced all of that they had to offer. And this year, I think it's going to be pretty particular. So please do share with us all the information and what you see if you are going there. It will be amazing, because I don't go, but I would love to see and learn more information about that, of course, because like London and US in general as well is moving incredibly fast in Web3 and in technology itself. But us, me and Lauren, we gotta stay in our places. Just, but we are bringing this technology to Italy, to France as well. Germany, I see Germany is moving a lot in NFC chips. Many streetwear brands started to implement it. So it's interesting to see how different countries try to like adjust the demand and the technology itself.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. And, you know, I think if you guys can, you should definitely come to London Fashion Week. There'll be some fun things happening, but I know it's not always possible, is it? But yeah, I think it's also really important to share our experiences of these events, because, you know, if we go to one and there's something really interesting happening, if we can share that information, then it might be that someone else does something similar. We build on the development of like all the things we can do and the possibilities. It's a really exciting time. So I just want to chat briefly about how digital fashion can help create new opportunities for creators and designers in the fashion industry space. So Lana, I'm just wondering if you've got any thoughts on this.
Yes, absolutely, of course. I think generally digital fashion helps a lot contributes a lot to creators economy, and with the facilitation of that by Instagram, by Snapchat, with the Lens Studio, and how they try to encourage more creators to actually create things. We see more and more actually creators creating things. And I remember 2 years ago digital fashion, and when I tried to look for the freelancers who could help us set up the projects, there were like just very, very, very little amount but it was just 2 years ago in 2019, right? And in 1 year,
Sorry.
It's
Scroll out of
completely
here.
changed. The industry itself, amount of people who try to post their information on Instagram, to post their portfolios on Instagram or any other social media, it just grew dramatically. Now with the hashtags and things like that, it's very easy to find somebody to collaborate, to meet, to even to just share your experience and knowledge and ask for recommendations. Moreover, there is a whole Discord, which is, for me personally, it's still not very accessible, but I'm coming there. I hope in 2023 I can be a pro Discord user, but let's see. Let's see. I'm already using TikTok and Be Real, so I'm Gen Z still, but Discord is coming in any case. For in my personal experience, of course, it's not easy. However, answering your question, I will say that yes, absolutely. Like these brands which we mentioned before, they try to contribute to this a lot, and the amount of DAOs right now where they try to really help creators to get paid fairly.
I don't know why I don't like
I
Miro.
think the industry is changing completely, and fashion will be one of the biggest to experience these changes.
I think that's spot on, and I think as well, like this idea that digital fashion kind of lowers the barriers to entry for a lot of people. I think as well, like you can be a digital fashion designer, whereas the traditional fashion industry, like you really need to be like in London or Paris or somewhere or New York to really like, you know, get involved in like the big studios and things like that. So I think in a way, it's kind of globalizing the level of talent, which makes it really exciting because it doesn't matter where you are or who you are. If you can get access to digital fashion programs and you can experiment, then that barrier.
I don't want to read the whole article, right?
Is a lot lower.
It's too edgy.
Lauren, I'm interested to know your thoughts on this.
Way
as well.
too edgy.
Yeah, and I can write more the designer perspective because there's definitely like I think with 3D not like a clear route to go. Stella, who's here, like we've definitely talked about this like for a long time. And right, I come from like the more traditional side, so I've had to like start to learn like more about the digital, the 3D, all the different programs, what kind of like laptop or computer you need. But I think like you mentioned, Lana, like the easiest way I think versus maybe even like going through like a course that's maybe more structured is to like do like little projects. And so there are people who are very kind and like donate their time, like Stella and Hafid here. They also have like their own projects that they work on. Hafid is really amazing at AR and I mean many things. Stella I think does like everything. So her project is Elena the Web3 girl, and so it's really like about kind of avatar personality. But then I think like almost everything around dressing, creating environments. And so if you're lucky and you come across a project and you meet really cool people, they're willing to also like share their insight and their time. So I mean I would advise like to enter like the scary Discord land, which is scary for a fashion person, normal for a gamer. I think. And a lot I haven't tried Be Real, so I have to try that next. But like learning through a community little project, I think has been the best way because then you end up with a result that like kind of gives you the motivation to take the next step and the next step, and eventually you're like, okay, maybe I understand something. And so I still have a very far to go as far as like mastering that, but I think because like how I just started is just by meeting people and just like talking and like trying to figure out what's the workflow, what programs do you use, what do I have to learn, and then just to go into YouTube where Stella keeps sending me tutorials about what to learn next. But it's still there's like not a framework yet. I would say there's like a couple courses maybe that have been created to learn 3D. But as far as like, okay, you have your 3D, let's make it a filter, let's make it a game skin. There's still like the industry is still very new, so I think it's good to just like kind of get your hands dirty and jump in if you want to start learning.
I think as well, I've noticed that some designers have used Twitch and like streamed their learning processes and things like that. So I think that's an interesting way for some people to learn. But yeah, I think like my sister, as I said, who's my co-founder, she's with the traditional fashion background, so she's still like learning all of Clo and everything like that, and it's just a case of getting in there and doing as many tutorials as you can, and then learning as you go. So yeah, it's an interesting one. So we've actually got a few minutes left. So I was wondering about opening up to see if anyone had any questions. So I don't know if anyone wanted to like raise their hand on their little icon, and then I can let them speak, and then they can ask a question. Has anyone got any questions? Nope, not at the moment. Okay, no worries. Well, and just in case anyone, I'll have a little look. Yeah, so I'm just wondering as well, like with regards to the new opportunities for creators and designers in the fashion industry, have you got a last piece of advice of anyone who is listening to this who would actually like to get into digital fashion and what they can
Nice.
do?
Good work.
Lauren, do you want to ask this question?
2016.
Answer this question first.
Sure. Let's see. I think, yeah, in the beginning, it's hard to kind of narrow it down.
Amazing idea. Why people didn't,
Like you have
develop this idea further? Sound healing for a fashion show.
how to create a tokenized economy. You have digital fashion itself, which is virtualization of fashion, which is then like breaking that down into utilities. Like you have AR, you have avatar. So there's a lot of like different avenues. So you can either like make little tests. Like I'm soon gonna like just do these little like creator hacks where I just experiment and test things. And test different tools, and then I think from there figuring out, okay, like I like to create virtual environments, or I like to create avatars. And so I don't know if she's yeah, Jessica James here, she makes really amazing like custom avatars. So she like saw something she really liked, and then she focused on it, learned the tools, and then became like super proficient. And so yeah, I think if you're a creator trying to experiment and then kind of focus, maybe because it can be kind of overwhelming. If you're just entering the space, I'd say just chat with as many people who can share their time. I know for me, I get a lot of messages, so I'm kind of backed up right now, but I'm happy to have like quick chats with people who want to get started. And last would be probably to just try to find a group that like aligns with maybe what you're looking for. So I'll also try to soon like kind of post some like resources on like different groups
Amazing.
I found. And so yeah, follow my account, and hopefully we'll be working on that. And hello, Joshua.
Hi, thanks for having me. I just wanted to mention a couple other opportunities I've seen for people who want to get started. Aside from DressX, they're running an AI contest right now, which you can find out more about on their Discord or their Twitter. The Fabricant is also running a contest. That one, I think, is the entries are due tomorrow, and it's for 3D works. So that might not be feasible for somebody just finding out about this, but I'm sure they'll do similar ones in the future. And then in addition, there's also Gorgeous, which is the name of Nix's DAO. They also run contests from time to time, which I found out about on their Discord. So there's a couple more opportunities for anyone interested in it.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing those. And I think even though
Amazing
the
back.
Fabricant one's going to be the last entry day is tomorrow, like keeping a track of like these big digital fashion companies and understanding what they're doing is another really good thing to do, because they'll always be running like little competitions and things like that you can get involved in. So I think that's really, really helpful. Thanks, Joshua. And yeah, Balana, please take the mic.
Yeah, at first I pinned both two tweets. Thanks so much, Joshua, for highlighting them. The contest, of course. Yeah, so the first one is from DressX.
Gonna
and
watch
I think
another
I
video
pinned
next time.
twice by mistake the Fabricant one. Yes, now it should be just. I'm really into that, guys. Go. No, but speaking about how to start in digital fashion, I would recommend, as just as the same as what Lauren said, is to focus on one direction. Because if you try to focus on all the concepts at the same time, you try to work with all the programs at the same time, you just get completely lost and confused. because me and as well, I'm sure Lauren and everybody else, how we started in this space. We started learning step by step, one program at a time, one solution at a time, one brand at a time, because otherwise it's just mind blowing. There's so many things that it's every day there is a new technology, new program, new like I don't know, new brand, you know,
New community, new DAO, new
so
NFT,
it can
whatever,
really
new
overwhelming,
whatever,
and I would
whatever.
recommend to start just step by step.
Overload,
And
Aquarius,
don't worry, it's a really
Aquarius,
kind space. We are all friendly here. We
Aquarius.
all try to support each other. We all try to help each other and
Do
educate
not
each
get
other and
lost in
share
the Aquarian
context
age.
with each other. And it's all about finding the balance and finding the right people around you who can help you in learning, in gathering the knowledge, and moreover to don't feel overwhelmed and have fun, because digital fashion is also fun.
It's not.
There's a really good point. And I think another one as well is obviously finding your tribe, like your group of people who are on the same path as you, who can help out. And as you said, Lana, like I've just been overwhelmed with how great and wonderful people are in the space. You know, you can reach out to people and they're usually quite helpful and will reply or point you in the right direction. So unlike the sort of traditional
Or not
fashion
respond to
industry,
you,
it seems
most
to be
likely.
way less elitist and much more welcoming. So I think this is a really good point to draw our conversation to a close. And I just want to thank everyone so much for being.
Lovely loves. We are making mistakes collectively. We don't need more digital trash. Really don't. I hope you understand.